What's up everybody? Welcome to another installment of Friday Q&A. I hope you've all had a great week. Thank you for all the questions that I got this week, and if you've got questions for next week, be sure to get them in the comment section below. A little bit of housekeeping before we get going. Like I said last time, my Axe Effects content libraries through Musicon should be up right now. You can go and sign up for those, and I'm going to be keeping those updated regularly for your viewing pleasure. I'm also going to have some just guitar specific content libraries coming down the track as well, which hopefully some of you guys will enjoy. That is something that has been asked for on the channel. And one little PSA as well, my right ear got blocked up with wax this week, and I had like 2 or 3 days where I couldn't hear anything out of it, and I went to the doctor and they irrigated them, and now my ears are perfectly clean and my hearing is better than ever. So take care of your ears. It's probably something that we take for granted as musicians, but without our ears we would be nothing. So go and see your doctor if you're unsure about how to take care of your ears, and just be like, dude, what should I be doing and what shouldn't I be doing to take care of these things? So the little PSA for the week is there, and we're going to get into the questions right now. Do Ragdoll ever do headline shows, and if so, what do we play? Yeah, we do, and we have done plenty of headline shows over the years. If we play interstate or overseas, we often headline club shows with local bands, and the way we try to structure our tours is that we will always try to go over and have some, what I like to call, you got the big gigs, like the festivals and the support slots, if you can line them up and be lucky enough to score those, and then you've got the club shows. And in my experience, it's always great to headline the club shows because it would just, bring out more people who otherwise wouldn't bother to come and see you doing a support. And often because you're only there like once a year and you're doing like a 45-minute or an hour-long set of your own music, it just tends to be that little bit of extra incentive to get people to actually come out and see the show. So when we do that, we do all original material. However, when we play in Perth, what we found is that it's just a lot better to, pick and choose our shows a little bit more if we're going to do an all original set. Often you get far more impact when you open for a bigger band, especially an international touring act. So we tend to hold out for those kind of things, or we go and do shows in the country where we tend to do a mix of our own material and covers, and that funds our interstate and overseas touring as well as our albums. So we can basically do whatever we want. We pay for all our recording time and all our touring time ourselves. We're not like beholden to the whims of a label or anything like that, and we pretty much have total creative freedom, which is awesome. I would highly recommend that particular model if you can make it work. Speaking of which, how is the Ragdoll album coming along? We have been rehearsing the last little batch of songs that we want to go in and track drums for, and once that is done, did I say drums for or drum for? Who knows? Drums for. And once they're done, then it should be pretty smooth sailing from there. I've tracked guitars for 7 songs. We've basically done guitar, bass and drums for 7 tunes and vocals on a bunch of others, and there's a couple more that we need to get done in the studio, and that one's looking like a 2020 release at some point. But like I was saying earlier, we're not beholden to a schedule or a label or anything like that at the moment. We're just trying to make an album that really satisfies us, and then hopefully if we can tick that point off the list, then everybody else will dig it as well. Alright, the wall hangers for my guitars. You can see my guitars hanging up here. I'm going to give you a close-up shot of how these work. Like I said last time, these are guitar hangers that I bought from a music store that was closing down, and they have been bolted into a solid piece of wood. I believe this is a piece of jarrah here, so something very, very sturdy, and then the long piece of wood is bolted into the wall. So it's kind of like a 2-tier system there. You have the big thing of wood which sticks out from the wall and is really secured to the wall, and then the individual hangers which are bolted in there, and it works great. They have a little adjustment on them so that you can rotate them to the angle that you like, if you want them face on or if you want them side on, and it has streamlined my whole studio being able to have them side on like that. I really like it. And if you're competent with power tools and putting bolts in things, this should be absolutely no problem at all for you to whip together yourself. This is more a question for you guys than anything else. I asked this question on the community tab of my YouTube page, but I want to do a video at some point over the next couple of weeks talking about the best pieces of gear that have come out this decade and kind of like trends in guitar gear and music technology and things like that, because it hit me that we're almost at the end of the decade, so it might be a nice way to have a little retrospective at how guitar and the guitar community has changed and evolved for better and for worse over the last 10 years. So if you have an opinion anyway about this, or you've got a favorite piece of gear you'd like to suggest that we look at, please let me know in the comments here, because I think that could be a really, really fun video and, you know, hopefully open up some eyeballs and some ears as well. Can I do some more how not to play videos? Definitely. They are on the list of things to revisit, I think. I've been really, really busy over the last couple of months doing reviews and demos, and I've got the 5 Killer Riffs series that I've been doing and really enjoying, so I think I will bust out some more of those how not to play videos. If you have suggestions for songs or riffs you would like me to break down, as always, let me know in the comments and I will take them into consideration. I get asked about how I deal with option paralysis on something like an Axe FX a lot, and there was a really good article with Devin Townsend posted up yesterday or the day before talking about option paralysis, and he mentioned that ever since he had kids it made him a lot easier to commit to a guitar sound, because it just kind of gives you that perspective of like, okay, cool, there's stuff that's important in your life and there's stuff that you like to think is important that isn't really that important, and in the grand scheme of things, I guess a guitar sound, you know, that last 1%, that minutia, probably isn't really that important. Just commit to the sound and get on with the actual process of playing music, and I really liked that particular answer to it. And of course you can also just move the gear out of arm's reach as well, and then that way you can't touch it and you're just forced to play. So I did that video, I think I entitled it Fake Shredders, and I just stopped replying to comments on that because I'm really overwhelmed with the response and the reach that that one got. There's lots of great perspectives and comments on there, just so many that I just don't have the time to get back to them, but there were a couple of things that I saw on there which I thought were worth addressing, and one comment was that something along the lines of like, the only thing worse than a fake shredder is a real shredder, and this person kind of just said that they're a pure guitarist, which made me think, like, what does a pure guitarist mean? And is that a real thing, or is that an aesthetic, or like, what does that kind of mean? Which I asked them back, and I forget what the answer they gave is, but my opinion on it is that something like a pure guitarist, or a pure musician, or a pure artist, it either doesn't mean anything, or it's like a tautology. Like, of course, if you're trying to make art, you know, the artistic process is in itself, I guess, kind of a pure thing. But at the same time, it's totally not a pure thing as well. Like, that's a, you know, it's like, by definition, art is pure. Okay, but the whole process of it is kind of messy and convoluted, and, you know, if you've got a process for it, then is it really pure? You know, is it truly creative if you're just following a set of guidelines? And it's like a whole philosophical debate that I think is sometimes worth having, sometimes not worth having. Often it's just like, just get on with it and play the instrument. Like, you know, whether you see it as this purity test or whether you see it as just a fun thing to enjoy, whether you want to know everything about the instrument and enjoy it, or whether you could not care less and you just want to learn your favorite tunes and, like, I don't know, learn a Sex Pistols song and be happy with your life. There's no prerequisite for the instrument to enjoy it, or music in general. Like, that's the beautiful thing about it. Like I said last week, music is its own reward. Stop worrying about it as some kind of like purity test or like a test of your moral fiber. It's music. It's music. Another comment which popped up on that video was talking about kind of like classical musicians and how better trained they are, and the one falsehood that came up there was that classical musicians don't get injuries like guitar player because classical musicians have correct technique, and that is total BS, and I can give you quite a few counter examples, but one of my best friends, hey, a fly, it's summer in Australia, my friends, there's a lot of flies at the moment. He's a great classical double bass player, and he was playing with the symphony orchestra here in WA and got an awful shoulder injury, which basically sidelined him for ages, because if you've ever held a double bass, they're massive. Like, I know guitar players complain if a guitar is like more than 10 pounds, but a double bass, I remember holding his double bass and it's like hugging a bear or something like that. And yeah, he got a really terrible shoulder injury from playing double bass, and he had immaculate technique, great player, playing with some of the best classical players here in the state and the country, and yeah, injured himself way worse than I've ever injured myself playing the guitar. So that idea that like classical players are somehow this other breed of musician who are like a pedigree or something is kind of BS, because we're all prone to the same injuries to our bodies and to our ears and to our minds. So like I said, take care of yourself when you're playing music, and just approach music from the perspective of, all right, how do I get the job done so that I can continue to get the job done, rather than, try to conform to a particular technique which may not suit your physiology. Thank you guys, that is Friday Q&A for another week. If you've got questions for next week, or if you've got types of content you would like to see, please leave them in the comment section. And if you've got a favorite piece of gear for the decade, please let me know about it so that I can take it into consideration for an upcoming video. And one last shout out to Ben. We had a bit of to and fro during the week in the comment section, and he left a really great comment that resonated with me, and I think a lot of you would like to hear as well. This whole debate about guitar playing and music technology and the guitar sphere, especially on YouTube. It's a pretty self-interested little clique at the end of the day, and music, ultimately for me, I do it for me. And once I've hit my saturation point with satisfying myself, I like to share it with other people. But at the end of the day, we're not out there curing cancer. We're not, saving the environment or something like that. We're just playing guitar. It's a really nice thing to have in our lives, and something that I think can bring a lot of joy and a lot of satisfaction to an individual's life. And, we don't have to turn it into this kind of pissing contest. So, Ben, thank you for your comments. Everybody else out there, thank you for your comments. To everybody who has continued to subscribe to the channel and help it grow, I am so appreciative. I really mean that from the bottom of my heart. It means a lot to hear from all of you guys. Have a fantastic week. Go and play some guitar. Go and listen to some music. Enjoy your lives. I will see you next week. Peace.